I know it's hard to believe, but August is almost over. We are getting into the final quarter of the year. Now is the time for you to get your financial shit together. Get it together for the end of this year and get it together for the beginning of next year so that you don't even have to think about it through 2023. Do this by hiring Molly Morris at m3virtualaccounting.com. I hired her last year, and I truly wish I had done it years ago. Have a free consultation and see if she can help you at m3virtualaccounting.com. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Unspoiled, covering Ted Lasso, Season 1, Episode 5, Tan Lines. In this episode, we get something so deeply satisfying that I don't even want to watch the next episode because I want to just imagine how mad Jaime is going to be that they won without him. The satisfaction. Bone deep. Don't even want to know. I just want to be able to have my private fantasy. Welcome to Unspoiled.
And when everybody's telling me I have no time, I prove them wrong again. 'Cause yeah, I might be all that you get. Yeah, I guess this might well be it. But heaven knows I tried.
Welcome to the show, everyone, except those who do not approve of the student loan forgiveness. I'm Natasha.
I am Rashawn.
Oh my God! So
Did you see my screenshot last night?
No. Oh, of the website or whatever it is. Yeah. I haven't logged on yet because I actually don't remember at all if I got a Pell Grant or not. So
yeah, I can't remember either. So that's what I was going for, but
well, I'm not getting on that.
Yeah,
the student loan talk.
Yeah,
Why would we do that to you guys when we're here for something joyful and delightful? And how can you be a fan of Ted Lasso, the show about everybody wanting everyone else to be okay, and not approve of the forgiveness?
Exactly.
So I'm preaching the choir.
Exactly right. We're not going to tell these folks anything they don't already know about that. So
exactly.
So what did you think of this episode overall?
It was so beautifully intertwined. The dealing with Jaime problem and the dealing with a marriage that has run its course. They're not like parallel problems, but both of them was sort of about figuring out how to do it without the person that you feel like you have to do it with. Which is, it's the whole thing with his relationship is so devastating, but also really beautiful that they have obviously got still strong affection for each other and respect for each other. And her saying, I wake up every day wishing that I still felt the same way. There's so much to say about that because on the one hand, I completely understand pursuing the feeling that you used to have for somebody. And I am by no means trying to say that you should just stick it out because I am not somebody who believes relationships are necessarily meant to work out forever or else they didn't work out. Sometimes things do run their course and that's okay. But I have been covering the Grisha series by Leigh Bardugo. And there is a character whose mother runs away with her love because she feels like she can't live without him. And things do not go their way. And they wind up in poverty. She gets pregnant really young. Everything pretty much goes wrong. And she grows up saying to her daughter, this is what love does. And there's a real bitterness in it. And eventually that character has a realization, and the line, I read it yesterday and it like punched me, was she had expected love to do the work of living. I read that, and then later on today read a different thing that was about, we think of love as an emotion, but love is a series of actions. And the emotion comes and goes, and that's not really it. It can feel like it, but the repetitive action of caring about and putting somebody first and, you know, weathering things with them, that is what love actually is. I am not trying to say that she should have kept trying, because when you feel like a chore to somebody, that's the death of enjoying your time together.
Right.
You know? So I'm not saying that, but I am saying that sometimes just thinking I don't feel the same way I used to isn't really the death of the relationship. It's like, well, no, that's part of it, is the way you feel changes and evolves and fluctuates and goes in cycles. And it's also not necessarily saying you don't love the person. It's just, you know, managing to like continue on when a fleeting emotion isn't dictating everything you do. It's harder. So anyway, just a lot of reflection this week on relationships and love in general and other things that I've been reading. So when this episode came up, I was just like, man, this really feels like sort of very on the nose for the content I have been exposed to.
One of the things there's so much in this episode, but since we're talking specifically about the marriage, one of the things I thought the show did really well is, because Ted Lasso, it's still early in the series, but it's clear that we are all meant to love him, right? And root for him. So it would be very easy to paint this woman who is opting out of a marriage with this guy that we all think is wonderful as the villain, you know? And the show resisted that. I really felt like, what's her name? Michelle, I think her name is, comes across as just as sympathetic, you know? Even though she is the one saying, I don't really feel the way I felt before. Those feelings aren't, you know, I can't seem to get them back or whatever. Even when you could zero in on that and be like, oh, see, it's her fault. She wants out. I still thought she was like really sympathetic. And at the end of the episode, I honestly was like, I want good things to happen to her. Right? You know?
Yeah.
But all right, so let's, I guess, start at the beginning. I love this too, because you had asked or mentioned that you were really curious about Higgins' family situation.
Yeah.
And this episode opens with his wife dropping him off at work. Fun fact, that is his wife in real life.
Oh.
Isn't that adorable?
That's
and
delightful.
I think we've already mentioned this once or twice again, but I don't remember. But I didn't watch Downton Abbey, but you did?
I did, but I don't remember him.
But you don't remember him, right? And I can't remember if she's like an actress full-time or like how she got to be involved in Ted Lasso. I actually know that backstory. But I loved it that that's his wife.
Yeah, that's adorable.
And what did she say?
Well, his car is like in the thing. So first he apologizes and she's like, we can afford to have cars because of you, so it's fine. And then says, but tell your boss I hope she gets heart disease. Which is pretty brutal. It's so much more mean-spirited than just drop dead. It's like, oh, I don't wish death on her. I just wish this like disease that will probably eat away at her enjoyment of her life over time. Which, damn.
Yeah, and I love that she has like a really sweet face when she says it. Like her demeanor is just still very like sweet and loving. You know, it's not like, tell that bitch I hope she dies, you know?
Oh my God.
And then we go to we have the moment where Ted bangs his head, which, you know.
He really gives it fucking a whack, man. How low is that lintel? I haven't noticed them having to like crouch to go under it, but
yeah.
oh damn.
But and then we go to him in Rebecca's office. I think he's got the little ice pack on his head.
Yes. And I love this. He's telling Rebecca about his marital issues, which she desperately does not want. I love this so much. Like, I could say that this is all part of Rebecca not wanting to ever feel like she has to root for Ted. So she doesn't want him humanized, as one of the gents in the pub says. And just is like, no, don't make me like you. But I don't think it's that deep. Rebecca doesn't want to have this fucking conversation with anybody. Yeah, talking feelings? Yeah. No, thank you. I'm good. Yeah. And I really sympathize with that.
I love when she's like, this is all because I was vulnerable and I broke down, right? This is really my fault. I brought this on myself. And then she's just like, lesson learned.
He tries to get her to admit she actually really likes them learning about each other, and she lies and said yes. But then he says Oklahoma, which is the little word that the therapist told him and his wife to say when they need each other to be brutally honest.
I do not.
Yeah.
But one of the things he mentions in this bit with her is that, him and his wife tried to do couple counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And
they didn't like the other couple.
That's such a good joke. It's such a good joke.
What a dork.
And mentions that basically the therapist suggested that they should have some time apart. We find out later when he goes to the locker room with the guys, and they have this whole moment. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure I didn't skip anything because I want to make sure we talk about this powwow in the locker room. So does it go right from him and Rebecca to the locker room?
I'm not looking at it. Hold on one second. Let me pull it. I'm still at him with that thing on his head. No. It goes to Jamie and Keely.
And Keely, all right. So this is also fantastic.
Is that Bex?
No,
that's not Bex, right?
No, this is a whole other girl.
Because I was like, Bex didn't say anything about being a huge fan before, so I don't think. But she looks so similar that I was like, he clearly is a type, I guess.
Bex left the gala with Rupert,
right? I just didn't think that would necessarily count against fucking Jamie.
That's true.
Also.
That you know what? Fair enough.
But yeah, she walks in, this girl is there, and I really do enjoy this girl's absolute nonchalance about his very recent ex walking in on her in his shirt. She doesn't give a shit. She's just all about the fact that Beyonce is here, basically.
Basically, right?
And she is like telling her about every account she followed. It is wild to me that you could like somebody that much and fuck their very recent ex and just be fine with that. I don't get that.
This is the one sticking point for me in the writing of this scene, is they make it very clear that this young lady knows exactly who Keely is. Mm-hmm. And there's no way that it's not known that Keely and Jamie Tart are a thing.
Right.
So this girl knows. Mm-hmm. Right? But at the same time, I guess, if he said to her, oh, we broke up, well, then that's what he said, and that's the truth. And true. That's it. That's all she needs to hear.
It's like an interesting thing because you could either be a, diehard stan, having like a parasocial relationship going, you don't do that to my girl, Keely. Or you could want to be Keely so bad that fucking her boyfriend feels like you're achieving something in and of itself.
Yeah, it's like a step in the right direction.
Yeah, you know.
And this is another moment where we see Keely not do the thing. Mm-hmm. What are you doing here, fucking my man? And she doesn't do
not
any of
even
that.
A little. He's like, you can't get mad at me. She's like, I mean, it was 24 hours ago, barely, that I dumped you, but fine. And she chooses to continue with this branding thing she set up for him, despite all of this.
I love that she tells Jamie, I want to thank you for making it easy. Usually I waffle when I break up, and he's just like, well, you're welcome. And
I like making people feel good.
You you said I helped you, right? Like when you try to be like shady with a person that just does not get subtlety or subtext.
I don't even
This
think
is
it's
what
that
it
he
feels
doesn't
like.
get subtext, although I do think he doesn't get subtext, but I think what it is he only hears positive things in reference to himself.
Oh my God, that feels
So
right.
she's
too.
like, you know, thank you for being as much of a dick. And he's like, you thanked me. The dick part I can ignore.
Right.
You're welcome.
You cannot insult him.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of people in real life are the worst.
Oh yeah.
I've only run into a handful of them, but the kind of person that is just so
impervious,
but also so self-assured, whether it's warranted or not. So self-assured and so like you can't ding them. Right? Like you like the and then Erica makes he's also like not very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Jaime, you know. So all that together, talented.
I think that I have kind of been this person in the past. I look back at some of my behavior, especially as like a teen and early 20s, where everybody was just kissing my ass all the time for like artistic talent and being pretty, that I would be like spoken to by a manager, and he would do that thing where you sandwich a bad thing between two good things, and I would ignore utterly the middle part and only hear the beginning and end of it. I think about that a lot. Like, I most certainly did that. So I'm not trying to throw too much shade at Jaime because I see myself in him just a drop and I don't like it.
I'm trying to imagine what that's like. I am the opposite. I only hear the middle of the sandwich.
That's how I am now. It's weird that I have come that far from like, yeah. So yeah, she's continuing to do this thing with him, which is deeply confusing to Roy later, and we shall get to that scene because first we have the moment where Jaime is supposed to pass and he still isn't, and Ted says Sam was as open as the jar of peanut butter on my counter,
and they're all just like, what? Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys don't know about the jar of peanut. I love how much everybody appreciates it.
They all stop and go, oh, now it makes sense. And I'm like, kids, I mean, it was pretty self-explanatory, but okay, sure.
Roy says, that's a really fucking good idea. Like, he's like, yeah, take notes, open jar of peanut butter.
I do love that.
And in the middle of all the training and practice and trying to get them to like pass because Jaime won't pass, his family shows up. And it's right in the middle of him giving like a real like, we're going to be here all day till you get it right. And then he's like, oh, cancel.
Practice is canceled. Bye.
The run, that scene is so perfect. Him running, Beard and Nate talking about the length of the run.
Yes. I also love when Jaime says, even when Sam is open, he's still shit, and Sam comes running up. It's
Sam is so great. He's so great. He's like nothing.
Labrador retriever.
He really does have that kind of energy, right?
And he's like, "What's up, guys? I'm game for literally anything. What have you got? I am here for it. Let's go." Just like, I really appreciate it. You gotta have somebody, you know.
Oh, that was so good. I'm glad you remembered that.
He goes and greets his son. Very excited. We get the first glimpse of his wife. They embrace, but it is obviously weird.
Yeah.
It's not like horrible, but it's weird. We go to the moment where Higgins is having to inform Rebecca that they did not sell out as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just delighted.
Yeah, she's giddy at this news.
He keeps seeming confused at her reaction to things. And I'm like, sir, her objective is quite clear. And she has repeated it a number of times. So I don't know what you're having problems grasping.
It feels like he keeps, I don't know. You're right. He keeps being surprised that she means what she says that she's doing. Like he keeps reacting to her as if he's like, oh, well, that was yesterday. Like,
yeah.
What do you think that is? Do you think that's just him not understanding who she is, or what do you think that is?
I think that he has such like a lovely supportive relationship that he can't fathom wanting to fail something just for spite. Like he's just sort of forgetting that like she is, because I almost feel like he has the same view as me where, well, this doesn't make you look good though. And I really keep thinking you're going to care about your image in that respect. And that keeps not being what you care about, because she's clearly an image conscious person in a lot of ways. But this is something where it seems like she believes everybody in the world views the club as her husband's still, to the degree that she won't be saddled with the failure if it fails.
Gotcha.
And I think maybe Higgins isn't quite getting that's how she sees it, because I'm having trouble with that. I keep thinking like, so this is not so much a prediction. I keep thinking about if Ted does manage to like really turn things around, is Rupert going to pretend this was all him somehow? Is he going to somehow take the credit? I don't know that he can, because it's been so public, her like in front of the camera saying it's her decision. Right. But it's the kind of thing he would do, Yeah. So
and what's funny, if you think about, like, if you take that thinking, he's been so successful being like the golden child, or the favorite, the golden boy in the press, that he probably wouldn't have to work very hard to get that story to go.
He would not.
Probably wouldn't take much.
He'd run a real quick little smear campaign.
Despite all the evidence that it's clearly her team and her choice, he probably could manipulate that very easily.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's it, is that like Higgins just doesn't really understand her objective here. And he keeps trying to pretend it's not what it is, because I think he just feels so uncomfortable with it that being reminded is uncomfortable also. So then we get Jaime filming this beer commercial, in which I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm sorry for those listening. He drinks his beer like this, so that he's like got his mouth on it, but he's also like looking over the camera at one point, because I guess he thinks that's going to look good in a photo. It's really something.
And this is like a press conference announcing that he's going to be like, the new spokesperson for this this thing, right? So it's not a commercial, which is unfortunate. If it had been a commercial, it would have been scripted probably. But
I just kept thinking it was a commercial, but you're right. Yep.
He's just up there fucking ad-libbing, and it's just, we get a beer corn when he takes the beer and holds it up like on his
a beer bee.
The beer bee. Keely has to tell him, you need to drink it so they can get pictures, because he's too busy fucking, being a puppeteer.
What I really want to happen so bad with Jaime, because first we have this, but she's posing as if it's all photos. But there has got to be a camera rolling in there. There's got to be footage of him making an ass out of himself in the midst of this. I'm sure there is. I want the footage of him making an ass out of himself here leaked. And I want somebody to isolate him stepping over Sam later this episode.
So
and just put them together
see how terrible
and just,
he is.
Yeah, just have like our own smear campaign.
I was about to say smear campaign.
That's fine. Some people deserve to be smeared.
But smear for good.
That sounds like some sort of initiative to get more women to have pap smears or something.
It does. I'm going to take it back.
Smear for good. Lord have mercy. Hi, Tom. Tom just walked in for that joke.
Sorry, Tom.
Oh, God.
So Keely and Rebecca leave this press conference,
Mm-hmm.
And Rebecca offers Keely a job.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this?
I don't know what Rebecca is thinking here, because she wants this all to fail, but she's offering this opportunity to somebody that she genuinely seems to consider a friend.
Yeah.
So do you want her to like have this but not succeed? Or do you want her to succeed and for the team to still fail? Is that possible? I'm not sure she's really thinking this one through. I think she's just kind of going, I like you, and you've got something going on, and you can't keep doing this like famous for being famous thing that you've got going on forever. So she's trying to help, but I just keep thinking, Rebecca, this doesn't feel like it gels with the rest of your intentions for everything. You know?
It's very watching, and we talked about this last week. Rebecca is incredibly likable and continues to be likable despite this horrible thing that she's got going on. And the sort of, as a viewer, we know what she's up to. Mm-hmm. But then we watch her have these moments with these other characters that I think are real. Mm-hmm. You know, they're genuine, sincere moments. Sometimes I feel like Higgins, where I get reminded and I'm just like, God damn it. This, when she tells her, men, what does Rebecca say? Men offer other men jobs in the bathrooms all the time.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. She starts talking about, well, maybe foot jobs, or would it be feet jobs?
Because you have to have both, right? That's been something that I've often thought about. Like, I've never been with somebody who had a foot fetish, but you must really get strong thighs, because you have to like hold your legs up in order, like, and that's sort of a Pilates move to like tone your legs and your core. If you're like using your feet in that way.
Oh, I had no idea what you were talking about. I was like, how do you get strong thighs from a foot fetish and just not make that connection? I didn't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever
tried to like just
not
hold your feet off the ground for any prolonged period? Like, that shit makes your legs begin to shake.
It sounds entirely too much like exercise.
It does. Yeah. I just always thought, like, I'm kind of glad. I don't care about a foot fetish. Like, I'm not, against it. If somebody had one, I'd just be kind of like, okay. But I've often been glad I have never dated somebody with one, because that sounds really, really hard. And like, I would just be like, can you just lay on the floor and I'll just stand over you and rub one foot back and forth and make this really easy, because I don't want this to be a whole thing.
I don't have the core strength for all of your needs. But the moment when Rebecca is just like, but it's a real thing though. Like, why men do that all the time? Why can't I just offer you a job because I like you and I want to give you an opportunity? That's literally how they do it.
Yep.
So,
amen, sister.
And then again, it's another moment of being like, God damn it, Rebecca. What the fuck?
Yep. This is that kind of thing that it's impossible to explain to people who have not seen this sort of thing happen in front of them, how much like being in the right circle matters. Mm-hmm. Folks just try and act like you get noticed if you are good at your job. That is super not it. That's not why. You get noticed because you are friends with somebody's nephew who invited you to a thing where the boss is going to be, and he thought you were funny when you played beer pong. That's how that works.
That's pretty much word for word how I've seen it happen. Like, it's pretty much how it goes.
Yep.
And so she gives Keely this opportunity. And I feel like Keely's like, this is because I was nice to you in the bathroom. It echoed Rebecca being to Ted, like, is this because I was vulnerable outside?
That's true. I didn't catch that, but you're right.
We are having these moments of vulnerability that then lead to these deeper opportunities for friendships and getting to know each other in ways that our characters aren't really like expecting.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. She's just doing the foot thing on my little screen.
Okay. So we go then to Ted talking to his wife a little bit. They go to the pub. She's going to get fish and chips.
Fucking love when she walks in the pub and the guys don't see her. Ted walks in first and they're, the fuck are you doing? You fucking wake her. And then the wife walks in and it's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Lasso.
He really cleans that shit up. It is amazing. I don't know if that counts as code switching exactly, but it feels like it. He's doing the guy in the pub, and then he's doing Sunday brunch meeting your grandma's friends from church. Like one really quickly into the other, which is really not easy.
It really is, and it's played so well. He's so good in that moment. His whole facial, he sells it. It's so good. And then this lunch.
Yeah.
This awkward lunch.
She asks him whether or not the fish and chips come wrapped in a newspaper, and then says, because that sounds like it would be your ideal food, right? And he's like, yeah, having food that also teaches me stuff. Mm-hmm. And it feels like he is like, she's trying to bring his energy back to him. Like she's hoping that if she meets him at this place of like just very chill silliness, that might do something. And there's something about that that's so sad because it doesn't feel natural on her part. It feels like her trying to be playful so hard. And I just hate it for her because you can tell she was like desperately unhappy.
Yeah. And you can see, I think, in him as well, like he's aware of her effort in this moment, so he picks up on it really quickly to like be like, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. Let me jump in.
He's yes-anding her.
Yeah. He makes that little fucking joke about she says something like, yeah, like a donut that teaches you about Rosa Parks. And he says, you can feel a lot of wisdom in that little so stupid. And then we cut to one of my all-time favorite moments of the whole thing. One of my favorite line deliveries.
Okay.
Keely and Roy in the hallway. What do you? You have to know what my favorite part of this whole thing was, but
I am reading this because I'm thinking about like one line in particular. I don't recall that. I just recall a delightful overall scene.
So he's giving Keely shit about what a twat Jamie is, and he thinks they're back together. And she's like, "Yeah, no, we broke up." And she's like, I didn't run it by you, and walks off in a huff. Mm-hmm. And as she's leaving, he says, well, Jamie won't pass to Sam, and Sam is wide open. So that's what I've got going on.
This has very strong. I'm very small and I do not have any money, so you can imagine the pressure I am under, or whatever that meme was. That is the energy for me.
And there's like, she's already gone. She is
around the corner. And then he gets a text.
She texts him.
It's a text from her saying, my bladder is really full. Can I pee? Because she's previously been like, oh, I'll run everything by you. Because he misunderstands, and she immediately is like, we're working together. And I have to say, I thought he was going to be like, oh, working together, sure. I thought he might push it.
No, he was really like embarrassed. He was immediately embarrassed. My God. And then after he gets her test, he goes, yes. Like, yes, you can pee.
I just have to say that, though, because I thought for sure he was going to be a little bit condescending. and act like she was fooling herself or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, like not trusting that, oh, you're going to go right back to him because you types of girls always do. Or
exactly.
like, you know, whatever.
I just thought, because this is not something that like the average woman is going to be able to do. Pivot from a relationship that was very, very public into business and be able to just like leave it there. And granted, he didn't see the scene she walked in on in the morning. So that really cemented everything, I think. But if you don't know about that, it would, for me, kind of feel like you're finding an excuse to still be around him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that is just such a classic thing. And he doesn't try and like tell her that he knows more about what she's going to do than she does. And that is a pretty fucking rare thing to find in a guy in general.
Saying.
You know, especially if he has a little bit of a thing for you and you're seeing somebody else and he's annoyed about it, he will get extra that way. So thank you, Roy, for just immediately backtracking and saying, I didn't know that. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, just saying, it's just such a low bar, y'all. We just don't want a dude to like mansplain our own selves to us, and that is still too much to ask sometimes.
One of the things about some of the characters on this show, and the reason why everybody was just like, "Oh my god, it's such a breath of fresh air," is because they're doing some of them are doing more than the bare minimum, but some of the stuff that we're watching these men do in this show is just like minimum shit. And we just don't see it ever anywhere. So it happens and everybody is just like, oh my God, I've never seen men like this before.
Tragic, truly. There's that moment and she goes off to pee. And then we go to a guy stopping Ted in the alley and telling him, wanker, don't fuck it up today.
The same old man.
Giving the finger.
Ted's like, that's a great scarf. And he's like, don't fuck it up.
He gives his son here a scone and he says it tastes like a muffin, but it'll suck all the spit out of your mouth.
Is that accurate?
If that is not the truest shit
God,
I've ever heard about a scone.
Oh, that's
strike me dead at this moment. It is bonkers. It's like charcoal, and I love scones, so don't get me wrong, but you know how like charcoal sucks the moisture around it? Like that's part of why they use it to get rid of poisons. You swallow charcoal and it absorbs. That's what scones are, and that's why they're so good with like cream and jam piled on them, because there's this really wet sort of accompaniment, and you need something that's kind of dry and crumbly to go with that. But by themselves, a scone is pain. You have to have at least a cup of tea. He hands it to this kid, and the kid just goes running off.
Just running off like he's just going to munch on it while he's watching TV.
He's got to have an orange juice. He's got to have something. It's not okay by itself. It's just, so give him like a hot cocoa, something to dunk it. I'm assuming he doesn't like tea. Hot cocoa probably. But it's like, I want to say it's like eating a biscuit, but biscuits are amazing by themselves. So that doesn't work at all. I'm trying to think of something that's like, sort of an American thing that has anything like the same texture. And the closest I can get is those like shortcakes that you can buy and slice in half to pour strawberries and whipped cream on.
Oh yeah. It was just
not the spongy ones, but
I'm thinking of the sponge.
The sponge is like angel food cake pretty much, but actual shortcakes are very much like scones. But that's the only thing I can think of. But anyway, you guys know that whenever there's a food moment, I have to.
I love the description he gives us, so accurate though. Like I know
you have had scones.
I have,
but you just don't remember.
Well, no, but you have them much more than I do, and have a much greater appreciation for them than I do, and have also had them in England, and I've never had them in England. So I feel like I would say what Ted said, but me and Ted are dumb Americans who don't know anything. To hear you be like, no, that shit's accurate.
Nope. I was going to say that you had them because we went to the tea room in Florida.
But we had them at your house
I made
too.
them for you. Yeah. Oh my God, guys, it was so cute. Rashawn went out to smoke and call her husband and just check in. And I made some scones. It took like 10 minutes. They baked 15 minutes. Rashawn comes in and they're out cooling. And she stops and goes, "Where do those come from?" And I said, "I made them." And she goes, "You made them just now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, I just walked out of here and I came back in and those are just done there? You like had so much trouble wrapping your head around baking anything. And it just started out as flour and becoming a baked good. It was
and
like
now it's food.
Yeah.
And I wasn't
was
even outside that long.
I thought you were fucking with me for a second. I realized that you were genuinely like,
I was
holy
dead up.
shit.
I was dead serious. Like, I would, if you had told me you snuck out the side door and ran to the store real quick, I'd have been like, oh, that makes sense. Now you're telling me something I understand.
Burgers and tell you they're steamed hams. That is not my jam. I don't do that.
So we have this moment after the scone where Ted notices that Michelle is crying.
She's pointed towards the window and he says something about the view. Yeah. And she answers back tearfully. And I was like, oh boy.
His face.
This is so familiar.
She's crying. Like his expression on his face it's so good. He's so good in this episode.
Yeah.
These emotional moments that he hits just perfectly. And it's, again, I didn't really know much about him before I started watching Ted Lasso, but I knew he was like a comedian and I know he was from Saturday Night Live. So when he has these moments on the show, I don't know if everybody was surprised, but I was just like, oh, I didn't know he could do all that. Honestly, yeah. I just didn't know. That look on his face it's like a panic, but also a real worry of like, oh my God, what is wrong?
Yeah.
And it is fast, but so good. So I think Jamie earlier in the chat said he got an Emmy for this episode.
He got an Amy. It's one of those knockoff ones. Association for major years. I just came up with that off the top of my head. I know it's hard to believe. So, yeah, this bit too, it's interesting because like I have sort of wondered if you guys know last episode I said she's coming here to tell him she wants a divorce. And that's not the energy. She is super unhappy and sad, but she's not intending to end things here. And I was sort of expecting that his positivity was going to be such that he did not notice when things weren't going well or wouldn't face it or wouldn't. We do this to ourselves all the time. Even people who are not like eternally positive, we will pretend things are fine and pretend to not see shit that's right in front of our faces and pretend that the thing that they did wasn't that big a deal actually, or that I felt this way in response to something isn't hugely revealing about how I feel overall about our relationship. Like we just are so willing to fool ourselves, not even necessarily because we want to stay in the relationship so much as we just don't want to have to change anything. That's like a huge, I know for me and Brendan, it was just inertia at a certain point of like, I'm going to have to find another place to live. I'm going to have to start completely over. This sounds so tiring. And like, once it got rolling, I was suddenly like, oh shit, this is rad. I get to start over. Yeah. But the thought of it when you're in the midst of it is so tiring. I was pleased that he hears her, really hears what she's saying and understands that there is something like there is nothing that he can necessarily do. And I just wasn't sure, because it could very easily have been, I'm refusing to hear that we can't get through this because I believe in us or something that's like really sort of trite and nothing.
And it would have felt right for what our understanding of this character is so far. It would have been very believable. Him choosing to be like optimistic enough for the two of them. My belief in us is enough for both of us. I can believe enough for both of us. I'm going to steamroll
right over you, and you aren't really a factor. Like that episode of Seinfeld where his girlfriend won't turn her key.
Turn your key, Maura.
But But yeah, this is just so hard because she walks away from him and he is standing there and looks baffled. And we cut to him talking to Beard and Nate saying, I don't know what to do. And there's a moment where they talk about Beard's romantic relationships.
Like a steak. 5
Not
minutes
too
on each
dissimilar
side.
from his views on cooking steak, which I don't know why the structure of that sentence is so good, but it reminds me of P.G. Wodehouse and the like way that he would formulate. Guys, one of the books has some like real racist shit in it. Skip that one. But otherwise, P.G. Wodehouse is a beautifully like unproblematic comedy series, and he just is flawless. It's the Ask Jeeves is really like the series that's my favorite, but that not too dissimilar from his views on cooking a steak. Like it just feels British when he says it. I don't know. I have to say too, earlier in the last episode, Beard asks Ted, why are you winding him up about Roy? And that is not an American saying, so I'm assuming it's just Beard integrating British slang.
I love that.
Good for him, I
guess. What does he's talking to, it's Nate and Beard, right? And then Higgins walks in.
Right.
And they ask, and Ted asked him some questions. Can I ask you some things?
Yeah.
And ask him about his life, about his marriage. His description of his life. First of all, when he, it's me. We've been married 28 years. We have 5 sons, a dog, and a 20-year-old cat whose impending death is gonna like wreck me or something. He says 3 dogs and one 20-year-old cat whose impending death is going to shatter me emotionally. I think is what he said. And then when Ted asked him something about hard times, have you guys had hard times? Did you hear about the dying cat? For some reason, like I don't.
He's like, maybe you don't know what the word cat means. Is that a British word? I'll do the cat guy so that you know what it is.
Also, there's this really, really small physical bit.
I'm trying to get up on that. Yeah, the bookshelf. I really love those kinds of moments where there's dialogue happening over it, so it's not to be remarked on, but it's extremely noticeable, and it's like just so weird. This is bringing in another Community scene for me, where at one point Chevy Chase says like agrees with Abed and holds his hand up like he wants to high five, and Abed stands up and leans over to high five him, and Chevy Chase gets bored of waiting for him and just puts his hand back down, and so Abed's like midway and just kind of has to stop and like sit back down again. And it's just this small thing, but it always kills me because it's like, you couldn't wait an extra 2 seconds. He's just like, oh, you know what? Fine, forget it. Like, that shit just always. I really enjoy the kinds of jokes that happen in the background, because sometimes you'll have, we're going to be having a conversation in the foreground and silly stuff is happening in the background, but the forward conversation isn't funny. It's just meant to be providing the backdrop for the funny things. Right. And that can work. But when the foreground is also jokes and the background is a different joke, that is a really hard thing to pull off. That's layers. And everybody has to like time it right together and not laugh in the like background at each other. I don't know how people get through some of these lines without laughing. I swear to God. I don't know how they do it.
This show is just really chock full of those moments. One of the reasons why it's so rewatchable is because it's impossible to catch all of it the first go round. There's just so much happening, so many little lines that are happening that aren't progressing the plot. They're just throwaway lines that someone has said as they're walking by or whatever. And every time I rewatch, there'll be a bit that I'm just like, how the fuck did I miss that?
Yeah, when he does the meow thing, Beard laughs in a way that I feel like that was an ad lib from the actor. And Beard was like, okay, I guess we're doing a meow for this take. Fine. Like,
oh, I love that. Now, I don't know if we talked about it, about like there's people, the writers on the show. So, Jason obviously is a writer, right? Ted Lasso. Beard is a writer.
Okay.
I have more people to name. We haven't really met her yet, but Beard's girlfriend Jane is a writer.
Okay.
The one he's playing chess with at the gala.
Oh, so that worked out.
And Roy can't at the gala. We met her.
No, yeah, but like, so she's on to that one. Well, you can't tell me.
Excuse me.
Jamie says Brett
and Roy can't,
aka Roy. Oh,
Roy and Roy's a writer.
Wrote this episode. Oh, that's delightful.
Oh, fun. That must be why he's not. Well, he's in it a little bit. So when you say things like, "Oh, maybe Higgins ad-libbed," and it really got Beard, you know, when you think of, you know, like, a writer is being like, "Oh shit, I see what you did there." Okay.
All right, I'm going to take a spot for a little break, and we will be right back.
All right,
so old person noises. I hate it.
Oh,
like, come on, you have one job. Anyway, so yeah, this is when he says, when you're with the right person, even the hard times are easy. And Ted just has a moment of like, oh boy. And he makes a joke, but it's clear that shit really hit. Mm-hmm. He says something about calling 911 and they're talking about how it's 999. Boy, that seems troublesome to me. You know, toddlers and just butt dials, and because it's one key. Yeah, you probably have police cars and ambulances just zipping all over the place. Well, that happens a lot, doesn't it? It does. Yeah, that explains it, actually. That is so good to me. I love those kinds of exchanges. Just a little aside of like, you got some points. I see it. So then we cut to the actual game. And
yeah, this is of the episodes so far. I'm trying to think how much of actual soccer we've seen.
No,
it hasn't been a lot, right?
It's been in the locker room, and we've seen practice,
right? And we saw. Oh yeah, no, that's it, right?
I think that we saw maybe they weren't playing. Maybe we just saw them coming off because they like lost the first game. But I think that we like see that the game is happening because we see Ted on the sidelines, but we don't really watch soccer in any part of it. Yeah. It's just letting us know that it happened.
I think the last time they were on the field was when they were fighting, and that was like right at halftime, and then they went to the locker room.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that was it.
And we don't see we just find out later that they lost. So they all do the like 1, 2, 3, hut! As they get ready to run out on the field. The locker room empties, leaving Narcissus himself staring into a mirror, completely unaware of anybody else.
He won't do like they all do like the hand in, you know, and he doesn't want to participate in that because he's taking selfies.
This is so intense because I thought Ted might actually lose it this time. He is not in a great place today. He is a lot more clipped than usual. Yep. He even says pretty aggressive.
I'm having a rough day. This is not been a great day for me.
I'm going to need you to cut the crap.
Yeah.
Sometimes you remind me of my grandma with the channel hopper. You just push all the wrong buttons. First of all, channel hopper, is that what we call it? It's a remote.
I mean, if you're from Kansas, I guess.
Channel hopper, Christ's sake.
I have not been to the great state of Kansas. I can't vouch for what they're doing out there.
There is something about the different regions of the U.S. calling certain things by totally different names that I think is so fun and weird. We just forget, I think, that the U.S. is as huge as it is. So we're like, oh, they're all Americans, so they should all say the same things. But like, they're entirely different dialects of languages within certain other countries that are not the size of the United States. And it shouldn't be surprising that we call things wildly. Just moving down here, I can't handle it.
I was just about to say.
I can't handle it, guys. Pop.
I have been, when I lived in Georgia, I legit could not understand what people were saying to me. It was a combination, especially my relatives. It was a combination of just a very, very thick accent.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this is a weird thing too, and I don't know how to explain it. My family members in Georgia, they all left Georgia in like the 50s or 60s. They went to college. They all moved up north and lived in Jersey. And then, like in the early 80s, they moved back down there. So they had like the southern accent that got mixed with this crazy Jersey accent that then doubled back down into a really rural Georgia accent. So they talk so fucking fast with all these words. I would listen to my aunts and uncles and just nod. You need me to what? Get the what now? Oh, okay, I'll get it. I'll go. And then I would go to another room and be like, Uncle Bill asked me to get something for him, but I don't know what it was. What was he saying? I would have to all the time. I couldn't understand what they were saying.
There's an episode of I Love Lucy where they're in England and an Englishman comes up and is like, and Lucy's like, oh, I'm so sorry. We don't speak English. We're American. And it's just such a good joke to me. And it sort of reminds me of that. We don't speak English. We're from New Jersey.
How do we get on? Oh, the channel hopper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I want to find one of those graphs because I know pop and soda and Coke are a big regional thing, but now I'm very curious about other items. I've never seen any memes about like remote controls or, what do you call? Yeah. I know like here we call them sneakers and they call them trainers in the UK.
Oh, in the UK? Yeah.
Like I know about those kind of differences, but
tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes
here.
Oh, okay.
Texas.
So up here, we all say sneakers up here.
Yeah, because I grew up with sneakers, and then when I read tennis shoes in a book, and I was like, tennis shoes? Why is he wearing specifically tennis shoes?
He's not playing
tennis. Is that something? Yeah, I liked it, and then I found out that's just the way they said sneakers, and I was just like, well, why would you say that when sneakers is just a general term? Tennis shoes feels too specific.
Like you don't call them all boat shoes.
And like really when I say sneakers, what I'm picturing is running shoes. So I say sneakers is a more general term, but I still have a pretty specific picture when I say it,
so maybe
like if you say sneakers, I'm not picturing Vans. Those are those are like skate shoes. Those are different. But I think some people might like put them together and say they're all part of the same casual lace-up shoe family.
This is a whole other unsober episode.
All right. So he says, I'll make a deal and I'll put up with your yeehaw bullshit. I'll keep ignoring you because this team is tragic. And
I don't mean to laugh, but when he says that,
I score all the goals and I'm the only one they come to see. Does that sound fair? Hands in.
He says, what does he say? He starts singing his own song.
Jamie Tart do 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 do. Jamie Tart do 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 do. To the tune of Baby Shark, ladies and gentlemen.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Have you not heard Baby Shark?
No.
You're lucky. I've only ever heard it for 10 seconds one time, and I still remember every note.
I worked very hard to make sure I remember. And
that's
because
like really trying not to listen to Trump's voice, his entire presidency, they're sharing sound clips. I'm like, nope.
I just realized that I haven't heard his voice in like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But yeah, that baby shark shit, yeah, no. I had no idea that's what that tune was. Oh, that's really funny. See, that was a joke I didn't even get.
So this moment is, I'm talking about Jason Sudeikis' acting. Ooh, his eyes get very cold. It is very sexy. I have a problem. I recognize that.
That is what does it for you.
But he is about to just be like, I cannot keep putting a smile on right now because you are such a piece of garbage that I can't. And there is something about him being ready to just like unleash when all I have wanted is for this man to get punched in the face. And I was just so like mixed on my feelings because I want him to, but also I know he will feel so bad if he does and goes too far. And I was like, I don't want to watch Ted be like apologetic to fucking Jamie later because he would be. And I can't take that. I can't. Then he is saved by the child who runs in, unfortunately, to get Jamie to autograph his shirt. Yeah. I hated this so much. And you can tell Ted just wants to
hard to watch.
Grab his kid by the ankle and carry him out the fucking door and be like, later.
Yeah, this is not somebody he wants his kid looking up to. This is not, this is everything he doesn't want for his son to be. And coming on the heels of this very intense, disrespectful moment that he just had with Jamie, having to put that smile on, this kid's here, and isn't it cool you're getting us, and what do you call it, an autograph? And
Jamie is so good with his kid. And I mean good in like the way that a kid would be happy with it, but an adult knows better.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. That I just really wanted Jamie to like be a dick to his kid, even in a way that the kid would be like, what the fuck is that guy's problem?
It would make
at the same time, right? But at the same time, I don't want like somebody to be a dick to his kid. Yeah. So, But yeah, it's an awful and the satisfaction pouring off Jamie as he realizes that he gets to, it's just so, it's so gross.
That he does not have to face whatever Ted was about to let him have, right?
Yep.
That he gets to use Ted's own son as the prop in between them. Then does this really smarmy kind of, I'm going to get a goal and it'll be, just you and me and it'll be our secret. And then looks Ted dead in his fucking face, because he knows Ted is impotent in this moment. He can't do any of the things he wants to do. He can't say any of the things he wants to say. And Jamie just takes advantage of it and is so gross about it.
I hate him. I hate him.
Is he irredeemable in your eyes at this point? What would it take to redeem him for you as it stands right now?
I really don't know. Because sometimes the thing that would redeem him is the exact thing I don't feel he's capable of, which is any amount of self-awareness and shame around the correct things. And he just doesn't have anyone around him other than Roy and Ted telling him that he ain't shit. I mean, even fucking Keely, he's saying you're welcome. Even the shit she is telling him he ain't shit, he's not hearing. He's literally got the crowd chanting a little tune with his name in it. We cut to the pub and they're screaming what a king he is and just absolutely worshiping him. The announcers are talking about how he's a future superstar. He's yelling me
at the
crowd. I just don't know how any of the things that I think could redeem him could happen in his brain. He's so busted in the head that I don't know. The only thing that I could see happening is a major injury. And him realizing
so that's
that
being
was the only
humbled.
reason Yeah, that people like put up with my shit was because I was really good. And now if I don't have that, I have burnt every bridge because nobody likes me or wants to do anything with me, you know?
So he would have to be taken down a notch or two.
That's the only thing that I can think of. Yeah. Even because like I started off this episode saying I don't want to see the follow-up to this because I just want to have my own fantasy about how he reacts to them winning without him. And I sort of stand by that because if this were a cheaper style of writing show, he would be so openly salty about it and so gratifying in how mad he was over the fact that they won without him that it would feel satisfying. I don't know they will write him that way though, because I can't tell if he's smart enough to realize that being salty will be pitiful, if he will pretend it's fine or pretend it never happened or pretend that he left, that he wasn't taken out, he left,
right,
and try and like spin it, you know, or be salty because he doesn't recognize what a brat it makes him. I don't know. I want a certain thing and I'm just not sure that I'm going to get it. So I just kind of want to have it forever unanswered in my head. And that way I can just pretend whatever I want happened.
When we get to the game, and we already talked about him getting pulled, and then they win. They are losing at the beginning of the game, and then they're down 2-0, and then Jaime scores both goals, and has the whole crowd going nuts. I love that moment in the bar. First of all, they're before he scores and they're watching the game and they're just going nuts at Ted, just going freaking nuts. And then Jaime scores and there's that great shot with all the beer going up and then coming down and they're all like drenched. Just such a good shot. And then after the second goal, Ted runs up into the stands. I love the announcers too, by the way. They're also
really impressive cardio. He's not even slowing down. Yeah, I was going to say, Jaime, the shot with the beer in the air is after Sam scores. It's not after.
Jaime it's when they win the game. Yeah. So the announcers are some of my favorites. And I think this is the first episode we see them because we didn't watch enough of like actual gameplay, but they're delightful. And they are, I don't know if they're still working, but I know that they were professional announcers.
Nice.
And I don't know if they're like retired and just doing this for fun or if they're like still, broadcasting, but they are a lot of fun. And then Ted runs into the stands and asks Rebecca's permission to bench Jaime.
And she almost levitates. Her heart becomes 1,000 times lighter. Her smile stretches Grinch-like from ear to ear. And she affects a doe-like, well, I don't know, Ted. You're the coach. So, of course, whatever it is that you would like to do, I will bow to your professional wisdom. I am certain you know what's best for this team. Eyelash bat. She couldn't be happier. It's amazing.
It's like he's just giving her a gift, like on a platter. Yep. Then there was, I guess there was somebody hurt Sam. There's like a foul or something, and Sam goes down.
They slide right in front of him, and I had said something about this in the first episode, talking about watching soccer as a kid. The dramatic drop and subsequent pretending of athletes that they got way more injured than they did. And this is a real thing. And in this situation, it's fine. I don't care. I love it. But some of the time, it was so transparent. It was pitiful. It was just embarrassing.
There's like compilation videos that you can watch on YouTube of just like soccer players going down, getting the call, and then jumping back up.
Nobody touched them, and they nosedive into the fucking turf like they got shot out of a cannon downward. Nobody was anywhere near you, sir. what? And they're writhing around. And then, oh, no, it's fine. Actually, I think I'm going to do some jumping jacks.
Yeah, but by then, I guess, like, once the call is done, it's done. Like, you can't take it back. Sometimes you'll see that in hockey where somebody will go down and they'll, like, milk it a little bit. But nothing comes close to soccer, I think. I don't know if any other sport is out there, you know, singing to the rafters in the way that, you know, performing the way that soccer players do.
I feel like soccer is really so non-contact a sport, despite it being a sport where you can come in contact. It's so rare that there's a part of me that's like, do they think they need to macho it up because they don't get injured the way that other, like if you're playing rugby, for example, or football, do they feel like they need to make it seem more dangerous than it is in order to validate it or something?
I think it's like the exact opposite. I think because it's a mostly no contact sport, that the slightest bit of contact suddenly feels like, oh my God, he broke a leg, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, that could be it too. That's true.
Like a football referee would see that hit and be like, you better walk that shit off.
Right? Did you, when you were in school, did you have a soccer team for your school?
We didn't, no. We barely had any teams for my school. Girl, I just found out like 4 years ago on Facebook that we had a football team when I was in high school. Literally, like 4 years ago.
That is amazing. But what I was going to say is at my school, I don't know why, it became a thing that if you played on the boys' soccer team, you were gay. And it was specifically soccer.
Oh.
And the whole team was gay. And if you played, you were gay or suspect in some
Actually,
way.
that feels right. I feel like I remember a time in this country where that was absolutely a thing. Especially after having just rewatched King of the Hill. Not that you were really gay.
Is that a thing?
The idea that soccer is gay.
Ah, okay.
It's not a real sport.
Where did that come from?
It's a sissy sport, you know, that kind of thing. Because there's no contact, there's no tackling. You know, you don't touch the ball. Yeah, that was definitely a way we thought about things.
Huh. All right. Well, this bears thinking about. But yeah, fucking Jaime strolls out there and literally steps over Sam, who is on the ground, in a way that I was so sure it would turn the crowd on him. It does not. At all.
It doesn't seem to.
And Roy comes up to him and shoves him and is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Jaime is like, oh, okay, let me, and then he flips Sam like he's a pancake and just throws him onto his other side, staring Roy in the eye. And Roy just begins to go at him. Now, Roy, I don't see actually throw a punch. I just see him get in Jaime's face and kind of shove at him. Somebody mentioned striking. I feel like one of the announcers says like striking his own teammate or something. I didn't see a strike. I just saw a shoving. Does it count? Like,
I figure like any sort of like physical contact in that like, you know, aggressive manner to your own teammate. But neither of them get ejected for that, right? They get a penalty, maybe.
They get a yellow card.
Okay. Despite the many watches of the series, my knowledge of soccer is still about Ted's from the first episode.
So then Roy comes over and is like, are you all right, Sam? Honestly, it doesn't even hurt anymore, but everyone was making such a fuss. I thought I should just stay down. And then he starts to like jump to his feet. And Roy is like, no. What we're going to do is you're going to affect a major limp. Like this really hurts you, but you're going to soldier on despite it. And they're going to love it. And
showmanship
Sam immediately is like, all right, I'm on board. Let's do it. And
Sam is
it truly does. He gets like a cheer, and and I love the fact that Sam is the one that scores the final. So like he got injured here, got stepped over, bravely continued and then scores the winning goal. Like, that is a great,
Yeah.
a whole like summary for him for this game. I feel like it's going to help him.
And it's from an extra pass, which is what
right.
Ted
Which is what they were
was
trying to get fucking Jaime to do the whole
Yep.
time. Yeah. This is when he runs up there and asks to take him out. And he goes down and tells the ref he's subbing. And I love the announcers being like, so he's subbing Sam in for who? What? Jamie Tartt? And that is a second before halftime?
Yeah, it's like just like a minute or two. It's like, yeah, no time at all.
Yeah. You didn't even leave it to like the sub for a moment where the guys aren't going to be able to talk about it and they just have to roll with it. You did the sub right before everybody's going to be able to talk about it, which I thought was a really surprising choice. And then when we go to the locker room, Jamie just left.
Yeah, shirts on the floor.
He dropped his shirt, he took his suits, and he is out of there. And I really want somebody to leak to the press that he did this. I don't know who that would be. I don't know if it would do anything.
So you
Because
are really,
obviously,
you really need the world to know he's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And to stop supporting him, right?
They
This
don't
is
need to
very
stop
important.
supporting him. They need to be aware that he's a piece of shit
Oh,
if
okay.
they want to support him. Because we know people are not going to to supporting
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
who's a piece of shit
I
in
mean,
sports.
yeah. I mean, that's a whole other fucking conversation. I'm not even, nope, not doing it.
Yeah. But I want it to be less, he's a king, and more, that son of a bitch. Thank you for scoring that goal, but I fucking hate you and I hate that it's you that did it. I want it to be a grudging, constant effort for people to cheer for him because he has made it so hard. I want it to be just
you want people to hate that they support him.
Yeah.
And have to reconcile that. With
Exactly.
Like, this sport is so important to me that I am low key supporting this giant asshole because this game is that important to me. Maybe I should reconsider some things.
Like, we all have this thing, right? There's always somebody that we kind of support, even though we know that they have some really fucked up shit in their history, their behavior. And we're like, I do know that. I choose to ignore it. And for all of us, that line falls in very different places. And some of us, we're like doing that with one person and we see a friend doing it with a different person. We're like, but how can you overlook that? And it's just, we all have our own place that we can do it. And a lot of it has to do with nostalgia, like, honestly.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And that's why sports has such a particular hold on people. But also music, TV, movies, whenever you start having people that you don't really know have such an intense impact on your emotions and you get tied up with these people you don't really know, then it becomes really difficult to separate, because it's not even really about them anymore or even like their art. It becomes about what it meant for you and the time in your life when you were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, God.
A lot of people message me about J.K. Rowling and not really knowing what to do with their like fandom for Harry Potter now that this is all going on. And I have certainly got nostalgia for Harry Potter, but it is not of the type that I find it impossible to like let go for at least for the time being. And I have completely like pulled Harry Potter out of my life pretty much at this point in most noticeable ways. And it's hurt for sure, but it hasn't felt like I just can't do it. And for some people it kind of is there for them, but for me, like the prime example for me was the Super Bowl halftime show this year. And it was just a ton of extremely problematic rappers with histories of like domestic abuse. And I was like, da 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 da. Don't remember anything about that. Oh, the classics. This is so fun. Am I proud of it? No. But that's
We all
kind
have
of
'em.
my line, you know?
We all have them. There was the whole thing. It's funny too, because I think you posted it, but then it showed up in my own memories. There's a writer that I love that a lot of people don't see it for. And they have every right, you know, you pull out certain excerpts and you're just like, ooh, this is no bueno. This is no bueno.
Oh, was this Bukowski?
Oh,
And that
yeah,
woman
I
with the
fucking-
annotations.
Yeah. I love Bukowski. I do. Don't know what else to say about it. All the books, all the poems, love them. Horrible man in a lot of different ways. But what can you do? And you know, and it's one of those things where I would never like try to get somebody to read it, you know, and be like, oh no, you got to read it, it'll change your mind, because you know, and maybe it won't.
No, some things are just like they're a moment for you. And that's just what they are going to be, you know?
Yeah, and then there's other stuff like that you can separate from, like you have with Harry Potter, you know, some things that you're able to be like, you know what, this is not for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're hoping...
and it's painful, but it's not impossible for me.
Yeah. So basically you need people to be like, Jamie Tart, he's just not for me anymore.
Yep. I want some shit just like about how like impossible he is to work with and all of this to come up so that every time he pulls anything, it's going to be like a magnifying glass on his behavior because everybody is predisposed to be looking for the prima donna attitude with him. Like sort of what happened with Justin Bieber. You can't tell me anything Justin Bieber has done and have me not go, what piece of shit. Never going to happen. They just the whole thing with him turned a corner at some point, and now I am not going to trust a goddamn thing he says or does.
I don't have a lot of point of reference for Justin Bieber.
Okay.
I mean, I know who he is, obviously, but I don't know what happened to him. I just figured he aged out of his career.
I think that is pretty much what happened. The thing that turned the corner for me where I was like, okay, fuck this guy forever, was finding out that he had one of his bodyguards carry him when he got too tired at the Great Wall of China. And he just had the man like literally carry him piggyback. And I was like, bitch, I'm out. That's
lying.
It.
You are lying to me right now.
That was actually one of the most liked comments I've ever made on a public page. Was somebody was like, I don't get why people hate him so much. And I was just like, I just went off and then ended it with like, he is basically Joffrey Baratheon. And I got like hundreds of likes. It was filling my notifications. And I was like, that wasn't even that good a comment. But yeah, he had him carry him piggyback and was being like photographed and interviewed while on the guy's back.
Oh my
like
God.
It was a very documented thing that it was happening, and it was truly like, yeah. So that was it.
Well, that is some new information that I had. I had no idea. Okay, so
all right. So he leaves, and then we get the speech in the locker room
that you were saying earlier about how you felt when you were going through your divorce and how the inertia and being afraid of the change, right? He gives like that speech.
Yeah, he says, we're broken. We need to change. And I know change can be scary. 1 minute you're playing freeze tag out there at recess with all your buddies. Next thing you know, you're getting zits. Your voice gets low. And every time your art teacher, Mrs. Scanlon, leans over your desk to check and see how your project's going, you feel all squiggly inside. Striking woman. Not classically beautiful, but striking. And I feel like everybody around him is like, all right, bud, where you going with this?
I feel like one or two of them were like, yeah, we get it.
when he says, first time I ever saw tan lines, and he like does this little like eyebrow, like, you know what I'm talking about. And this is always fascinating to me. I know that this is a thing, but the liking of tan lines, I can't. It's disorganized. I want my skin to all be the same color. And the idea of finding tan lines sexy, I understand the theory behind it. You're seeing skin that has been covered. You're seeing like, you know, just sort of like a reflection almost of an outfit that they were wearing at one point that was a lot sexier than what they're wearing now. I get that, but absolutely not. Tan lines are hilarious to me, and they're never anything close to sexy. It's just
people.
Nope.
It is the hint of I'm fully dressed right now, but there are times where I'm only wearing the barest of bare.
Yep.
And it's all it is. It's a suggestion.
Yep. It's just that
people kill
like,
for tan lines.
And I mean, I have such tan lines, so I'm not trying to say that my skin is all even, because it sure is not, but it bothers me. I wouldn't look at it and be like, that's sexy. Especially like what I can't help but laugh at is all of them wearing these like shin guards, and when I played soccer, the fucking tan lines you would get from the right between the middle of your thigh and under your knee. And then everything from right below the knee down was white. And everything from right middle of the thigh up was white. And then you'd have this bar of like Neapolitan ice cream.
That sounds awful.
It was weird looking. It was no good. But yeah, he says change a lot of the times can be a good thing, and you have to embrace it. And being brave, doing whatever you have to so that everyone in your life, and he says this and sort of stops and says, can move forward with theirs. And it's clear, like, oh, he's having a moment here. It's the only way you can truly help her be happy. And you see Beard like, look at him and then look at everybody else like, what's going on, bud? And he says, obviously by her, I'm referring to Lady Football.
This is a nice save.
Okay. But yeah, so this is when he says, Sam, shifting you to midfield. And we get the pass, and everybody goes bonkers. Sam jumps on, is it Roy? That he like just wraps his legs around,
Nate.
And then Nate jumps on Ted. No, there's more than one.
There's more than one
little monkey leg wrap. It's like that little like, what's the word I want? Remember those things in the 80s that they sold that would like hold on to a pencil?
Oh, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you know, I don't remember what they're called, but it's like that. It's a really sweet moment. Sam is so happy and proud of himself. And Roy goes up to Ted and says, it took balls what you did, and shakes his hand. And I'm like, yeah, Roy must be absolutely loving every fucking second of this. I mean, you can't imagine it going better.
Yeah.
If you're Roy. What bliss.
I mean, it's everything he's been asking, you know, like Jamie's out of the game. You know, he makes a pass that scores, you know, to Sam that wins the game. And it's just like, it's everything. The team is all functioning clearly just by getting rid of Jamie. The team just gelled together that fast, it seems, which is interesting because when Ted is addressing the team in the locker room, Isaac scoots over so that Nate can sit down, you know, on the chair.
And gesture, and Nate is like, what? And he just sort of shrugs at him like, whatever, man.
Yeah, right.
There's something about it that's just like, you know, we're past that now. It's fine.
And it really does feel like, what is this team like if there's no Jamie? Like, you know, does that really make a difference? So I know that you are just dying for Jamie's comeuppance, and I don't want to make the whole episode about him, but it's worrying because he's going to be back for the next. He just walked off the field for like one game, you know. So how does the team react when he shows back up to practice the next day? We talked earlier about how Jamie's going to react, whether he'll be all salty or shitty about it. But what do you think the team will feel?
I'm really like curious now. Does Jamie show back up the next day? I don't know how pissed he is. I was assuming he would, But now I'm like, what if he doesn't? What if he's so pissed that he's just like, no, I'm sick.
He's gonna call out
today.
sick.
Yeah, like, I really don't know how he would react. And especially, like, Sam is the one who scored the winning goal. So are the media all going to be here wanting to talk to Sam, and Jamie's going to get pissy because, like, I don't know anything about what they're going to focus on, because the show frequently will just, like, pivot when I think that we're going to get something. And that's not an inherently bad thing. It's just makes it hard for me to, like, know. I would like for Ted to just bench Jamie, like, for a while. And if Jamie wants to leave, then he is more than welcome to. But it would be cool if you stayed and, like, trained with everybody, and then you just weren't in the scrimmage. Our plans didn't revolve around you. Because I don't know what he does if he watches the team get excellent without his participation. And I don't know if that helps or hurts. I just don't know how he would react to certain things,
Yeah. So they wrap up the game.
They're cheering Wanker now.
That's
very
a sweet
different
moment.
tone.
That's a really sweet moment. Beard makes him stop and listen, and he's still saying the same word, but it just, it's just completely different energy.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Did you love it?
That? I was baffled by it. When it happened, Owen was watching with me, and he burst out laughing. And then
Thank
said,
God Owen was there.
Would love that.
I absolutely did. Absolutely did. And I thought of Owen too when I was watching this episode. I was like, oh God, I hope Owen watches this. And I also really love how much Ted appreciated it. He's like, oh, I walked right into that one.
This reminded me of that bit in The Office where Michael Scott is trying so hard to get somebody to ask him, "What's up, dog?" But nobody is doing it. That's actually what we can do what we do in the shadows joke too. But yeah, so his son comes up and is like, "What's flanker mean?" Oh, just a man likes to be alone with his thoughts.
Not bad for on the spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it cuts to him saying goodbye to Michelle from the field, right?
It's like a brief, but it cuts between. So we have him talking about them in the parking lot at the same time. So random. Okay. And then we cut really quick to Keely, who is slamming shut her boot.
Look at you.
And she jumps about a foot because Roy is standing right there. And he's like, did I scare you?
How awesome.
Like, it's really cute. And she says, you snuck up on a woman in a parking lot at night. And all of a sudden he's like, fuck.
It's so good. It's so good.
I'm like sorry. I'm an idiot. I was also an idiot yesterday. And you see her face immediately go, I'm sorry. Did you just apologize to me?
Yep.
Like, she doesn't know how to compute that for a moment.
You apologized twice?
Mm-hmm.
And like when you don't get accountability, when you see it, in the wild, you're just like, oh shit, let me get a picture. It's like seeing a fucking zebra or something.
So she says, it's okay. And then they just look at each other.
The way
they pretty much fuck. And then he says, "Good night, Keely," and there's off like a hair.
She is standing there just like, what the fuck? And then she smiles.
He left a cloud of smoke and streaks like fucking Bugs Bunny or the Roadrunner taking off. And she's watching him like, uh-huh. And like when he walks away, she kind of smiles to herself because I think she is like, oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. She's got a very
just desperate for them to fuck, please.
She has,
and I want to see it.
My man,
I want to see it. I'm just saying.
But she does. She has that sort of like giddy sort of anticipation when you first are like catching feelings. You're just like, oh, what's happening here? Yeah, it's very, very cute. And while that is sort of the beginning of maybe something, right? We don't know yet for sure, but it definitely feels like there's something that might be starting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's intercut with this clear ending of a thing with Ted and his wife. And in this is the moment where Ted is like letting her go. He's not going to try to keep her somewhere she doesn't want to be, where she's not happy. And he has this line where he says something like, you know, he never quits anything. And she tells him he's not quitting. He's letting her go.
The line that got me was, I'm going to be okay. Because I think so many people, if you still care about a person, you are afraid to leave because you're worrying about like completely shattering them. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And just saying, I will be okay, can be so helpful, you know? Yeah,
it gives them the freedom to move without having to constantly be guilty, like looking back, like you're giving them permission to not keep looking back to check on me, like you go and, you know, and a lot of people aren't willing to give that, you know?
Yeah.
If they can't keep you necessarily in the relationship, whatever the relationship is, whether it's romantic or familial or whatever, they will use your worry for them as a way to keep you tethered, you know?
Yeah.
And
they'll manufacture reasons to worry about them to keep you, like, which is something I can't understand, is wanting somebody to stay so much that you're willing to accept their pity instead of like an actual, like, I just can't relate. If I feel like somebody is pitying me, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh, you know?
But the willingness to be like, no, you don't have to do that, you know? It's remarkable. It really is. The sort of dissolution of this marriage. I don't know if we know exactly how long they've been married, but
I don't remember what he said.
You know, but he mentioned something like they met in college, right? When he's talking about being in the parking lot. So watching it end, we come into this relationship at the very, very end. We're just here to witness it sort of dissolve. But watching it be handled in this way with this level of maturity and this level of sensitivity, I really, you know, in a comedy, you know, like I started to try to think about other media I've watched and how I've seen those sort of similar relationships be handled. And I have to say that the show did a really, really good job of presenting it in a way that I feel like we don't really get to see very often.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Also going to reference Schitt's Creek again. There are some handlings of tough relationships and stuff that are really just so movingly done. So again, going to just plug that. But yeah, so this moment of her saying, you're letting me go, and he seems to accept that. And then their son walks up. She leaves with him in one of the cars, and he is standing there, and it's clearly a moment of just, oh God, now I have to stand here knowing that this is happening. I got to get somewhere. I got to go home. I got to go home. Like a moment of, I thought he was going to go like rushing back to his apartment. And instead he goes over to a bench and sits down with a vibe of like, I don't know if I could have kept standing.
Right. It feels like I need to sit down. Like this was really heavy. And even if I wanted to run to my apartment, I don't know if my legs would take me.
Yeah.
Let me sit down for a minute and get myself together.
And he sits down, and here comes Beard with a beer. A beard. This is something Jaime would have done. I don't know how I'd do it, but he would have done it. And they sit and they have their beer, and the old man with the fucking scarf walks by and says, "Oi, wanker, good job tonight." They cheers and tap the bench with the beer like it's a ritual. I don't know what that means. Is that a well-known thing, or is that between the two of them only? Do you know? It's like the breaking of the Papadom in half. I'm like, is this a thing? Yeah. I don't know.
I think it seems to be like it's a thing that they do. I don't want to say that they invented it, because somebody will be like, no, it was here and there and the other place. But it appears to be something that they do together. Like whether they picked it up from wherever. It's like their little thing, you know.
I'm always interested too that they can like be outside with their beer. There are some cities or states, probably cities though, in the United States where you can do that. But
Yeah,
like I know you can in Vegas. You can take your drink and go walking around outside and stuff.
they just passed a law in I want to say Charlotte, because one of our listeners was talking about it, where they're going to have like little designated social areas where if you're in like this, I guess, like nightclub district or wherever, you know,
Gotcha.
you can walk around outside with your drinks.
I kind of like it. Being able to just be mobile with it, you know? Sometimes you don't want to just be in the fucking smoky, packed, loud bar where they have like live music, even though the place is 10 feet square and there is no reason to even have a sound system because everybody can certainly hear. It's fine. The places I'm talking about. You come in, you're like, yeah, let's hang out and chat and catch up. And then you can't even hear each other. Literally, you start talking and you can't hear your own voice. I fucking hate that.
I'll say one thing for while COVID was happening and there was no indoor anything. One of the things Philly did was cut. There's no traffic, so it wasn't a big deal. But they stopped letting traffic go down certain streets so that all the bars and restaurants could erect outside dining options. So what it meant is everybody could eat and drink, like where Oscars was.
Yeah,
that whole street got blocked off, and they built tents and seating, so everybody was outside. So you could like walk up and down the street and go from tent to tent with like your beer and stuff. If you were out there in those COVID streets, which I was not, but I would walk by it from work.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I'm like, look, I understand that this makes you feel better, but I can't imagine this is actually like that helpful. But if it makes you feel better, okay.
All right.
Yeah, so that's the episode.
Yay. Are you still loving it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Were you excited to watch? Are you excited to watch the next episode?
Yeah, and I'm trying to not watch them until like the day before we record or the day that we record because it's so much better when it's fresh. To record, I mean, it's better when it's fresh.
A couple times.
Maybe, but like for me, recording when something is fresh on and I've just had a reaction and I'm excited to talk because you know what I mean? That tends to work better. Gotcha. Not always, but, and I want to mention too, that I've been doing for $5 and up patrons, I've been doing the like video thank yous and greetings to people personally. And I have been enjoying doing that so much that I may extend that because it's supposed to end August 31st, but I may continue it a little bit longer. It's a special offer for right now. And I didn't know that people could reply, but I've gotten like a bunch of replies to the videos, and they're not video replies, they're written replies. But I didn't know that was a thing. So that's been delightful. I've gotten some really nice. One note I literally like sat down and cried because they were just so kind. And I was like, oh my God. One of those days where like you need to hear it, you know?
That's great.
But anyways, yeah, those who are thinking of signing up, $5 and then $10, you can be here. You can be with Suki. Live at the Suki record, not with Suki. She's not me.
I just want to make that clear.
I'm just saying.
Anybody writing, you know, the FCC talking about how Unspoiled promised a day with Suki.
We have you on tape, ma'am. Under oath. Did you say this? All right, everybody. Well, thank you again for listening. We love you very much. Until next time. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
My hands won't be tied down, and I will not lay them down, 'cause I can finally see the truth. So simple but so clear, accepting your notion's depths were out of reach for me and you. If you're coming up for air, breathing in, you know I'll be there when you first begin. And when everybody's telling
an Unspoiled Network podcast.